Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Some of you we've seen as we've traveled. It was really great seeing a lot of you at these benefit fairs, whether you had joined our 11 a.m. one, which was for our new and mid career. And now this is for our, actually, it still says new and mid career. So we're going to be doing retirement ready for this group. So, retirement ready. So, we've been making our rounds on the benefit fairs and visiting with everybody. We've been to the state, the north, the south. There were a few we were not able to attend, and we're sorry for that, but we were wanting to still reach out to you to see what level you were at and what kind of questions you had for us. So, my name is Jerry Mack, and my colleague Cliff Horn, who's in the background, he hosted the one at 11. So, you probably saw one of us at a TRSL table if we were able to be at your event. So, thank you so much. I knew some of you that came by and said hello to me were like, oh, yeah, I saw something about this already. I had this information. So that is good to know that you already were engaging, you'd already seen the information from us, and you'd already registered for that. So we are going to be pulling up the retirement ready information shortly, and we are recording this webinar. So this webinar will be recorded and it will be made available to you. I sent two different emails because it was a big file. So this email will be available to you. We're going to be sending out the recording link tomorrow. We're also going to drop into the chat in a couple moments the PDF that goes along with this webinar. So the slide deck for the retirement ready. And what we'll also have will be the ready for retirement. We call this our retirement road. It's an 8-pager. And on this 8-pager, we have all the steps that you need. You might be 5 minutes away from retirement. You could be 5 years out from retirement, either way. So make sure that you have everything you need on the steps to the retirement road. We also have another webinar that we're going to be doing today at 4 o'clock on member access. Now, here's a quick little sneak preview on member access. We are going to be on member access. We're going to be rolling out a brand new My TRSL in the spring. So, spring or summer, we're looking for that. So, keep that in mind as well. And also, today, this is a very brief webinar, very brief overview. I'm going to go ahead and try to go the next one, Cliff. So we're going to have a brief webinar, brief overview. So anything that you need to get into the weeds on. So we're just going to touch on things like drop and the application process and the eligibility for retirement. So we're just going to touch base on some of those. If you want to dive deeper into, let's say, purchase or transfers of service credit, we've got brochures and we've got links and we've got things that are available for that. If you want to get more information about drop, for example, we've got several different in our drop series. You only want to know 5 minutes of what drop is? We'll talk about that today. If you want to know everything there is to know about drop, well, we've got an hour and a half for you. And that's a drop 411 webinar that we're going to be doing. So we've got lots of opportunities and things that we've got. Today is for general questions only. So if you have anything specific, like, hey, what is my drop window? When am I eligible to retire? Or I've got funds from this other place at this other state. Can I transfer it over? Those kinds of questions you're going to want to reach out to us directly at Ask TRSL, which is here in that bottom box right there. Cliff's going to be dropping things in the chat. So the chat, and you may want to adjust the setting, the chat is going to be outgoing to you. So we're going to put links in the chat. When I'll talk about something, it's just going to magically appear because, we're magical. It is that time of year, for Halloween and all. And all of those links will be popping up. So if you have any questions, general questions for the group, go ahead and populate those in the Q&A box. So what I'll be talking about today, the next 30, 35, 40 minutes, types of TRSL retirement plans. How is your retirement funded and calculated? Retirement eligibility and options. So when can I retire? What's that about? Purchases and transfers of service credit. What if I need to put time into the TRSL system to increase my service credit? How does that work? Well, you can't just purchase it out of thin air. It has to come from somewhere. So it might be from another state, may have been a refund that you got from our system years ago, those types of things. Leave credit, also known as sick leave, and for those of you that are 12 months, annual leave. Different types of retirement offered, the retirement application process, tax liabilities, and community property. So let's go ahead and dive in with our TRSL retirement plans. The majority of you listening that we met on the road at these higher ed webinars, higher ed benefit fairs or such, are regular plan members. So that's where the vast majority of you are. Now, the way that your retirement is funded, you're very aware that you pay 8%, whether you want to pay more or you want to pay less. It's 8% across the board into TRSL. Now, your employer pays contributions towards your retirement. You don't see that in your statement, but more you feel that in your retirement check for the rest of your life. Now, how do you get paid for the rest of your life? Because these investments, they're investment returns that come out from the employer contributions and the member contributions. That's what funds your lifetime retirement benefits. That's how you can retire at 55 or 60 or 62 and still be getting a check at age 99 while you're warm in your bed. That's how the system is designed to work. How your benefit is calculated. There are three numbers that are calculated together to determine that maximum monthly TRSL benefit in retirement. This is something you will see on a TRSL retirement estimate, which I'll circle back to in just a little bit. Our service credit is how many years we've paid into the retirement system. How many years have you been working, basically? Times your 3 or 5 consecutive highest years of salary. Sometimes it's your last years. It usually is your last years, but it doesn't have to be. It might be earlier in your career rather than later. Times our benefit factor of 2 or 2.5%. That's our multiplier, and I'll talk about that shortly. When will I be eligible to retire? Depends on when you joined the TRSL retirement system or one of the state retirement systems. I'm going to just guess, and I'm going to say, based on statistics, I'd say at least a fourth or probably a third of you listening are in this first group right here. Regular plan prior to 7/1 of 99. Now, you've got two considerations here. You're either in the 2% benefit factor or the 2.5% benefit factor. So if you find yourself in the 2% category and you're thinking, hold up, I'm 45, I can retire at 20 years. That is awesome. That's great. But I would encourage you to get a retirement estimate to see what the 2.5% benefit factor could look like. Because future you, which may be very happy with you in a few more years, if you hang in there to get to 30 years and then you have a 2.5% higher benefit factor than retiring early at the 2%, you may find that might mean hundreds of dollars a month more. It may be a big difference. So take a look at some of that. A lot of this is self-explanatory, but let's cover one of them that we do get a lot of questions about. 55 at 25. There might be one or two of you listening that are going to turn 55 at the exact time you have exactly 25 years of service credit. But for many of us, you might be 55 with 24 years of service credit. So it's like you need to check both boxes. So we've checked the box for 55, but in this example, if we're at 24, we're not eligible at that 2.5% yet. Once we get to 25, then we'll be 56. So it might move around a bit. So you might be 59 by the time you have 25 years service credit, or you might be 55 with 28 and a half years service credit. It might move around a little bit like a seesaw. Our next group, which is probably at least a third of you, joined between 7/1/99 and 12/31/10. This next group has 4 categories, all with the 2.5% benefit factor: 60 with 5, 55 at 25, any age at 30. Any age at 20 years actuarially reduced, which means that's considered retiring early. So you retire sooner and you get a smaller amount that's reduced over time because you're being paid out over a longer period of time, depending on how many months before the age of 60 or 62. So keep that in mind when it comes to actuarial reduction. Much like with our 2% group, you may want to see, what does 20 years at actuarially reduced mean, or what does 55 at 25 look like? It could mean a big difference in your salary, or it may not be a big difference in your retirement check. Our next group are those that most recently joined us. There might just be a few of you listening on the line for this. This was our group we were talking to a little while ago. Those that joined us more recently between 1/1/11 and 6/30/15, or on or after 7/1 of 15. There's only 2 categories here, and they're both at the 2.5%. In our first group, it's 60 with at least 5 years of service credit, or any age at 20 actuarially reduced. Our latest group is 62 with at least 5 years, or any age 20 years actually reduced. There is no typo here. There is no 25 at 55 for these groups. There is no any age at 30 years for these groups. I just want to make sure we point that out. That may not be an issue for most of you, but we do like to spread the word that this is different for these more recent groups. Now, when you go into retirement, and if I were doing this in person, I'd be like, okay, show of hands. How many of you have gotten a retirement estimate? So this is a retirement ready group. And I mean, at the end of the day, aren't we all retirement ready, right? We are all retirement ready. But can you retire? And that's a personal question. And then are you eligible to do so, which I just covered. So when it comes to retirement, not when we first apply, and I'll talk about the application process shortly, but when we apply for retirement, we're just going to say, hey, I'm retiring. And I want to see what my numbers look like with this person as a lifetime beneficiary. Okay. So that's when we first fill out the Form 11, which I'll talk more about in a little while. Closer to the retirement date, and I've got a screenshot of what this looks like in a little bit, you're going to receive an affidavit in which you will literally choose a retirement option. And if you choose a lifetime retirement beneficiary, you would look at that as well. So that's when everything gets locked in. This is what makes everybody nervous because once you choose this, this is set. You can't change to another lifetime beneficiary. You can't change to another retirement option. Even if you participate in drop, that's already settled. Okay. So it's already locked in. You can't change anything. So it's very important. And I really recommend, I was actually surprised at how I see some people go into the retirement process and then see their numbers and go, oh, I don't know if I can do that. And hey, that's fine. You can change your mind. But friends, you can get a retirement estimate in advance. So if you are at least 5 years in advance of your retirement date or eligibility or entering drop, your homework is to get a retirement estimate, and I'll talk more about that. You can do those quickly online, and I bet half of you have already done that through Member Access at some point. So I'll show you how to do that in just a little bit. Let's say that we need to increase time in our system. Let's say that you may have worked 5 years in Texas at TRSL Texas, or TRS, I think they call it over there. And you might want to transfer those funds over to us. Or maybe back in the day, you got a refund of 3 years from our office, and you want to put those funds back in. These are considerations that you want to make. Perhaps you served in our military. Thank you in advance for that if you did so. So there's lots of things that you can consider. You can't just purchase time out of thin air going, I'm only 2 years from 30. Let me just purchase 2 years. You can't purchase airtime in the TRSL system. But perhaps you might have had 2 years over in Texas, or 2 years at a private school in the state of Louisiana, or a charter school that wasn't paying in. There's lots of different considerations that may apply to you. So reach out to us if by chance any of this is saying, hey, I might want to look into that. So it doesn't hurt to check into it. A very popular subject is sick leave. And we have a sick leave chart that Cliff is going to pop into the chat. I'm sure he's already popped in what member handbook maybe too at this point. Sick leave is a big subject, and it's an important subject. We earn it and we use it while we're working. And I'll get into annual leave in a moment for those of you that are 12-month employees, also known as vacation leave. The first thing to know about sick leave, it does not help you cross the finish line. So if you're trying to get to 30 years of service credit and you've got 29 years and you're not yet age 55, you got a year of service credit for sick leave, it doesn't get you to 30. So you need to get to your own finish line yourself. At the time of retirement, you'll be paid up to 25 days by your employer at the day rate of pay. And then 4 to 6 months after you retire is when extra days that could convert to service credit will join the party, so to speak. My colleague likes to talk about a retirement cupcake. We love the cupcake. We go ahead, we put it in the oven, we take it out, and you got to let it cool before you can ice it. So think of the sick leave as the sprinkles on that cupcake. That's going to make it even nicer. You might retire at 30 years of service, and after your retirement, you might have a year's worth of sick leave. then you would be paid on 31 years of sick leave. Now, that 1 year is a maximum, okay? You won't be, there's not more converted past that 1 year. 25 days paid, 1 year maximum. And the 1 year varies whether you are a 9, 10, 11, or 12-month employee. Now, you might retire at 25 years of service and have half a year of sick leave. Then you would be paid on 25.5. So you would feel those sick leave days conversion for the rest of your life in your retirement check. Annual leave is a different animal. So, annual leave, some of you listening, 12-month employees, not paid over 12 months necessarily, but those that are employed for 12 months, right? Some of you might be 9-month, paid over 12. But 12-month employees that work 12 months, you may earn annual leave, also known as vacation leave. Now, that's different. You're paid up to 300 hours at the time of retirement for your annual leave, 300 hours, whereas sick is 25 days. There is no automatic conversion of annual leave to service credit after you retire. So if you have buku annual leave, if you've got more than 300 hours, let's say you've got 500, 700, 1,000 hours of annual leave, you need to talk to your employer to find out what your options are before retirement. Can you take off every Monday for a year? Can you take off 3 months before you retire? Can you pass that along to so and so in another department? What are your options if you have more than 300 hours of annual leave? Talk to your employer about that. There are 5 ways to exit the TRSL retirement system. The first one is what we've been talking about, service retirement. You stop working and you start getting your retirement check. The other 2 are drop and ILSB. Those are nest egg retirement. Who wants a nest egg when they retire? Me, sign me up. But you have to pay for it in one way or the other. And I'll get into a few more details on drop, and I'll also touch on ILSB a little bit more. But if you want more info on them, if you want to take a deep dive or go down the rabbit hole, that which is drop or even ILSB, we have webinars that are available. We've got a link we're going to put in our chat today. The drop, for drop, we've got all kinds of resources for drop where you can learn more about it. We're even doing one, if I'm not mistaken, Thanksgiving week, I think that Tuesday, we're doing a drop 411. I mean, you might be off or you might be in a very empty office. So join us and we're going to record it. We've already got it recorded on our site as well. It's everything you want to know about before, during, and after drop participation, including drop accounts. So drop is a way to save what would have been your retirement check while you're still working. So the way you pay for it is you save it while you're working in a special time. I'll cover drop more in a moment. ILSB, you take in advance of your retirement in a lump sum on your way out the door. Well, how do you pay for it? You still get your monthly retirement check, but that first month retirement check is lower based on how much you take on your way out the door and your age at the time of retirement. More on that in a bit. Deferred retirement. Deferred retirement is an option, and we actually had a few questions about that in our last session from some of you. So deferred retirement, those are for members who want to pursue another career, or maybe you want to move to another state. Let's say you've got 5, 10, 15 years in our system. The minimum is 5. 5, 10, 15 years, leave the funds here. Go do something else, or go work for the private school, or go work for the other entity that is not TRSL employment or lasers, or go work for the out-of-state place. Then you can draw on that retirement of 5 years or more at age 60 or 62, as long as you leave your funds in the system, not take a refund or transfer. Disability. If you're no longer able to perform your current job due to a disabling condition, you can apply for TRSL disability retirement. It must be approved by the State Medical Disability Board. So be aware of that one as well. So let's talk just a few minutes about drop. Like I said, there are rabbit holes and there are all kinds of ways to go down different paths to learn more about drop. So the very first thing you need to know about drop, my friends, is it is an optional program. No matter how much peer pressure is out there, no matter what your family, friends, or coworkers say, you don't have to do drop. It is an optional program. It is a savings account. It allows you to save what would have been your retirement check for up to 3 years while you're still working and earning a paycheck. You're not required to be in drop more than 3 years. So once you're in drop, you don't have to work after drop. You don't even have to be in drop all 3 years. You might only be in drop a year and a half because you might say, hey, I'm ready to go. I'm done with all this. You might be in drop 2 years and say, hey, I'm out of here because I saved enough money to pay off the house or buy the car. You might only be in drop a year because maybe you need to take care of a health issue for yourself or for a loved one. The minimum participation time is only 1 day. Now, nobody ever says, I just need a day of drop. We're waiting for the day to start drop, but not necessarily just the 1 day of drop. So, but the minimum means at any point you can retire within that 3 year window. You're not required to do all 3 years. At the end of the 3 years, you can't say, guys, that was everything. Let me do 3 more years of drop. You cannot extend your drop period of time. Everything is locked in and frozen. It's based on your time going into drop. So your highest compensation, those highest 3 or 5 consecutive years, that is your 25-year or 30-year mark or 28 and a half years if you're 55, whatever your number is, that is locked in and decided before going into drop. So yes, your decision to participate is irrevocable, but it doesn't mean you're required to do all 3 years of drop. At any point, you can retire during and certainly after drop participation. There's no requirement to work after, etc. And you can apply up to 12 months in advance. That's not the minimum, that's the maximum, up to 12 months. More on the application process in just a few minutes. So I'm not getting into every detail today. I'm just going to cover the drop window. The single most important thing for you to know today, if you're even considering drop, if you're even going, I don't know, will drop be my friend or not? Because drop is not necessarily everyone's friend. The most important thing to know is you do not choose your drop window. You don't. It chooses you based on when you join our system, based on your age, based on those circumstances. So your drop window opens when it opens. You don't exactly choose it. Let me show you what I mean. I'm not going to be giving out everybody's drop window today. That's not the kind of thing that we're able to tell you. But I will tell you where you can find more information for your own drop window since we are not able to support that today. If you want to know what your drop window is for the fiscal year, if you want to get an idea, let's say you're about 5 years out and you want to get an idea of, hey, which one of these is me? Which one is me? So check out page 2 of your member statement on Member Access. Page 2 in the middle, it will show you your fiscal year of eligibility for early retirement, for regular retirement, and drop eligibility. Sometimes, usually, the regular retirement drop eligibility is the same. Sometimes it is not. So check that out, and that's going to be on page 2. And on page 2, when we have that, keep in mind that it shows the fiscal year. So it'll say something like fiscal year 2027, 2028. That means at some point during that 12-month period of time, you'll hit the year if you already had the age, or you'll hit the age if you already had the year. Because typically, we're going to have one before the other. You can also play on Member Access with your estimate. I'll show you how to do that in just a little while. But in Member Access, you can say, well, what does Halloween look like next week? Or what does April 1st look like in 4 years? You can kind of see what those different types of things might be. So keep that in mind. Going over the drop eligibility windows, for those of you that have joined us and been here since January 1st, 2011, you've been here a while, there's 3 eligibilities, but it's kind of 5 windows. Age 60 with 10 years, 55 at 25, any age at 30. So drop is not for everyone. Drop may or may not be your friend if you're looking at the 60 with 10 group in this specific category because it's calculated the 2% benefit factor. Other people, drop may not be your friend. Let's say that you plan on working 35 or 40 years. Drop may not be your friend. Drop may not be a good idea if you know that you're about to get a large raise and you want all of those years to count on the higher rate. So keep all of that in mind. 55 at 25, we talked about this a little bit earlier. 55 at 25. You might be 55 at 24 years. So our drop window has not opened yet. Okay. So that would make you roughly 56 at 25 years. Or you might hit age 55 and have 28 and a half years. Boom, then the drop window opens. Let me give you a quick example of how people accidentally miss a drop window. Okay. It happens all the time, it happens at different points in time. People see any age at 30 years. Okay. These 55 at 25 and any age at 30, that looks very similar to what I talked about earlier, right? Retirement is a door you can walk through anytime after you're eligible. You can run through it, you can skip through it, shape of you on the door on the way out, whatever works for you. Drop is a limited time opportunity. It's a hurry up, are you going to do it? Are you going to do it? Your window opens and it starts to close. So if 1 year into your drop window, you're thinking, hey, I'm going to do drop now, you have 2 years remaining. If you're 2.5 years into your drop window and you think, hey, I'm ready to do drop now, you've got 6 months remaining. Drop is not rollover minutes like with our cell phones or rollover data. It does not roll over. It's only 3 years if you start at the very beginning of the 3-year opening. Okay, which is not necessarily the same for everybody. There are commonalities, obviously. So here's how someone may accidentally miss drop. Let's say that I'm age 55 at 27 years. Now, everybody loves the number 30. It's a great number. We love it. Nothing specific happens at 30, but each year is a 2.5% increment, right? So if I'm 55 at 27 years and I'm thinking, ooh, 55 at 27 years, any age at 30, I'll just wait and do drop then. Will I be able to participate in drop? I will not. In that example, that person will lose all 3 years of participation and be like, hey, I'm ready now. It's 30 years. Because what did I say earlier about your drop window? You don't choose it, it chooses you. So it opens when it opens. Now, those of you that have more recently joined us, your window is 60 with 5 years in the second category, or age 62 with 5 years. So that might mean age 62 with 8 years. Or in the group before that, that might mean age 61 with 9 years or something. So it's going to move around on you a little bit. So again, page 2 of your member summary, and when you do a TRSL estimate online through Member Access, it will tell you the fiscal year in which you're eligible. So let's say that drop was not your friend. ILSB might be your friend. If drop is not your friend because either you were going to be calculated the 2% benefit factor, or you know you're going to work to 35, 38, 40 years of service, or you know you're about to get a really big promotion and you want all of your years to count, do an estimate for ILSB and compare and see, oh, okay. So what if I do ILSB because my friends, ILSB is not a window, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. You can take ILSB at age 70. You can take ILSB at 40 years of service. So ILSB, you take on your way out the door in lieu of drop. It allows you to get that lump sum. Maybe you really want that lump sum because perhaps you want to pay off the house or add something onto your home or buy some rental property. So because if we take a lump sum out, it's going to lower, we're back at our seesaw, right? It's going to lower our first of the month check. So if you take out the most you can take, you're down here. That's going to lower your month significantly. But what if you just take out half of what you need? Well, then that bumps this up a little bit. So you may find a nice balance between what we takey and what we're going to have monthly. Now, before we think we have solved the puzzle for retirement, I do have to tell you, yes, federal taxes, 20% mandatory federal tax withholding. Before we're like, hey, I got it, I figured everything out. I do have to tell you that. So it's in lieu of drop. It's not in addition to. Drop may not be your friend. Look into ILSB. It doesn't hurt. So this is Janice. Hey, Janice. Janice is applying for retirement. She can apply up to 12 months in advance. So some of you listening, you may be 12 minutes from applying for retirement if you're eligible, right? Or you might be 12 months, or you might be 5 years out. You can apply up to 12 months in advance. You can still apply 8, 6 months. I'd say even probably about maybe 5 months out. Anything after that, you just want to go ahead and apply in advance. If you literally apply for retirement like the day that you're headed out, you can, but you're going to have a cash flow issue because it's going to take a few months to get that first check to you. Okay. So if you're not worried about that, awesome. But you do want to allow as much lead time as possible for the back and forth of paperwork. You need to complete all purchases and transfers. If you got to put anything in our system, you need to talk to your employer. I'm not saying you need to talk to your boss, but you do need to talk to your employer to say, hey, I'm applying with TRSL. What forms do I need to fill out here, friends? And any insurance questions, that's another one that might be coming up in the question box. Any insurance questions, you want to direct that to your employer. So you can apply for retirement online through Member Access. That's where we can also look at our member statements. That's where we can also do retirement estimates. Remember, if you're 5 years out, that's your homework, friends. Apply in advance for that. You can submit the PDF if you'd prefer to do that. You certainly can. If you're entering drop, that's the only thing you do is the Form 11. You don't do a 15D or a federal tax form yet unless you're straight up retiring. Applying through Member Access, right here is where we click under the My Retirement drop-down menu, apply for Service Retirement ILSB or drop. Right over here, friends, just over a smidge, is My Estimates. That's where you can do an estimate to see what your retirement would look like. That would be your gross estimate before federal taxes come out of it and before if you choose to have insurance come out of it. Within a couple of weeks of submitting that Form 11 to TRSL, you will receive an acknowledgement letter from us. So you will receive that in your US mailbox, not your email, but your mailbox. You'll say, oh, okay, good. They got this. If you didn't receive that automated letter within 2 weeks, reach out to TRSL because we need to make sure that we have everything going for you. When you pull up the information to apply for retirement or drop or ILSB, if you do it online, it has skip logic. So it's only going to ask you the questions that apply to you based on what you're answering. The information from you and your spouse automatically preloads and populates, but you can make changes if and when necessary. And I know this is going to sound silly, but yes, of course, print your application. You need to check the box and you need to submit the application. I can't tell you how often, friends, I thought I sent that email, still sitting in drafts. I thought I sent the text message, never pressed send. So submitting the application online is transmitting it to our office. It's like send to an email. How do we get paid in retirement? Now, if you're thinking about drop, that's a whole nother subject because I like to tell people that if you participate in drop, think of the retirement check the first of the month. Think of TRSL as a grocery store. We're a produce stand, okay? And your TRSL check for the rest of your life is your fruits, the fruits of your labor, first of every month. If you participate in something like drop, you're going to also have access to veggies or ILSB. You're going to have veggies. Your veggies at some point will turn to zero. But the fruits, the first of the month check that you earned with your service credit, you will always receive that for the rest of your life. That's guaranteed. That's going to be on the first of every month. Your first check is going to be a paper check. Everything after that will be direct deposited. So you can change your mind about retirement, but you need to make sure you haven't passed that drop date with an affidavit or you've already received a retirement benefit check. For service and ILSB, there's a 30-day waiting period. So if we choose our retirement date, let's say June 30th, and we apply months in advance before June 30th, our first retirement check date is going to be August 1st. But what if our retirement is June 5th? It's also going to be August 1st. So you might want to close the gap there, maybe pick the end of a month if you can, maybe not. That's completely up to you. At first, you'll receive estimated benefits because we can't overpay you and collect. So we pay you just a little bit less than what you're due. Then we catch you up to speed with a retroactive payment, and that's going to be 4 to 6 months later. This is when your sick leave calculation will join the party. So that's about 4 to 6 months later. Remember, sick leave, you'd get paid 25 days when we leave, annual leave up to 300 hours if you're an annual or vacation leave. But our sick leave conversion, not annual leave, sick leave conversion up to 1 year maximum, depending on whether we're a 9, 10, 11, or 12-month employee, is going to be joining the party to increase our retirement benefit 4 to 6 months later. So I'm starting to wind down. I've still got a few more slides and a few more little things to chat about. But any of those questions that you have, I will turn off the video in just a couple minutes and I will check with Cliff and see what kind of questions have been coming in. But in the meantime, just kind of start thinking about those again, just general questions, because there are things that are going to be on your mind that we need to look up and things that are specific just to you that you're going to need to go ahead and reach out to us directly. So, as I mentioned earlier, yes, federal taxes. You will be paying federal income taxes always. And that is your regular monthly benefit and any drop withdrawals paid. Now, Louisiana state income tax, as long as you live here in Louisiana, no, you're not paying Louisiana state income tax on that monthly benefit and drop withdrawals if we pay them to you. Now, you're state tax exempt from those amounts, not of everything. From those amounts, it's not automatic. You must claim the exemption when you file your Louisiana taxes. So, whenever you file your taxes in May and you get to one of those sections where it's like 64 answers of no, 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 nope, you are going to say yes 1 year. And you're going to say, why, yes, I am receiving Louisiana State Teachers Retirement Benefits. So, you are going to check that box one day, friends. Community property. Most payments or benefits received from TRSL are, in fact, considered community property. The court system ultimately determines which funds or payments are considered community property. If you have any questions, you want to reach out to our legal team, you can reach out to us at the Ask TRSL address, which I'll put up in a minute, also link in chat. So we have that, and we will be sending that information out to you as well. In summary, and again, we have 2-hour workshops. We have 30-minute workshops. This one is just, it's gonna be about 40 minutes. So this is just an overview of ready to retire. So we've got all kinds of rabbit holes you can go down. We want you to carry back to know that TRSL is a defined benefit plan. It guarantees a benefit based on a formula, not your contributions. That's how it lasts you for the rest of your life. That's how you could be 99 years old, warm in your bed, collecting a check. If you have any purchases or transfers of service credit, they could increase your retirement benefit. You want to find out about this sooner rather than later. You certainly can still do it later. It's going to cost more over time, but you still want to look into that just to see what it might be. You don't want to leave any stones unturned. If you are interested in participating in drop, find out the exact date you first become eligible for drop so you don't miss your drop window. Remember, what did I say? You don't choose your drop window, it chooses you based on when you join the system and your age in many cases. We also recommend that you coordinate your retirement or drop begin date with your employer. You can apply up to 12 months in advance before your desired date of retirement or that drop beginning date. So, what things can you do now, friends? You can register for member access, submit important documents over to us. We are going to need black and white copies of Social Security cards for you and your beneficiary and birth certificates for you and your beneficiary. Now is a great time to update your contact information and to check your beneficiary designation. Who do we have? If you need to update your beneficiary, you will need to print up, complete, and mail in, because we need the original, a Form 3 to update our beneficiary. That's Form 3. If you're within 5 years of retirement or drop, you want to get a retirement estimate. You can do one of those on Member Access, or you can submit a Form 10 if you're unable to do so, or if you're uncomfortable to do so on Member Access. Now, Member Access, many of you may be familiar. Here's where we can calculate future retirement estimates. Yes, it is accurate. Cliff and I use it to double check our math. Yes, it is accurate. You can update your name or mailing address, apply for retirement/drop, view your drop account if you have one in the future, view your beneficiaries. Remember to change a beneficiary if you're still actively working, Form 3 we need to print up, complete, and mail in. And we can view annual statements online. Here's how to create a benefit estimate. Log into Member Access. The information is preloaded. It's populated once a year. So it's not accurate with, so when you log in August and it shows that you have 28.5 years, it's still going to show 28.5 years in April. So it's only updated once a year, but you can do estimates for the future just to give you an idea. Under the My Estimates drop-down menu, you'll select Estimate Your Retirement Benefit. You'll enter if you're a 9, 10, 11, or 12-month employee, and then click Create Estimate. We have lots of things online. I've heard Cliff just clicking away, and there's lots of links and stuff in the chat that you want to check out that we sent out to you. I'll turn my attention to questions in just a moment. We've got lots of webinars that have been pre-recorded for you. And okay, wait, I got to do it. So Halloween is next week. So I have a Halloween joke, but this one can be formulated around any holiday. You ready? Okay, Cliff, I will need your participation, por favor. Okay. So knock, knock.
Who's there?
Philip.
Philip who?
Fill up my bag with candy. See, you can modify that to fill up my tummy with turkey or fill up my stocking with presents. You can modify that. Kids love it. Another one. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Boo.
Boo hoo.
Oh, I didn't mean to make you cry.
As bad as that joke was. All right, it's time for questions.
Okay. Bye.
All right. So someone did it. By the way, hi, I'm Cliff. Someone did ask in the chat. They said, "Hey, I showed up late." You're not going to see him there. Sorry, Jerry.
Oh, no worries.
I joined late. May have missed an announcement. Will we receive a recording? And the answer is yes. We are recording today's workshop, and you will receive it later. You can also go back and get the handout for it, for the workshop, the slides. It is or will be available on the webinar page for that. Couple questions I'm going to throw at you, Jerry.
Yep.
Someone asked, do I pay Louisiana state tax if I live in another state?
You do not. You will need to comply with that state's income tax laws.
Perfect. If my sick leave, let me talk to you about that. What if the majority of my sick leave was accrued at 12-month employee, but now I'm a 9-month employee? What formula do I use to calculate for my sick leave?
It will be calculated at different times. So it will be calculated for the years of 12 months and the years of 9 months. And then it's going to be added together. And that happens 4 to 6 months after retirement. You do want to reach out to your employer if you have specific questions like that at any point in time before your retirement.
And once they figure out the number of days that you have left over, because you terminated as a 9-month employee, that's what you were at the time of your termination, that is the chart that we will use, the 9-month slot, which means 180 days equals 1 year of service credit. Someone asked this question. I joined August 1st, 2001, and I will retire with 24 years of service, and I'm going to be age 69. What does actuarially reduced mean? Because I am retiring 20 years at any age.
So if you've already got the age limit in this specific example, but anyone who wants to know what their actuarial reduction is, if you fall into a group in which 20 years is actuarially reduced, or that first group of 2%, you absolutely can get a TRSL estimate on at Member Access, and you can definitely, spoiler alert, we're changing it up next year, at Member Access to see what that translates to you. Yeah. But in this specific question, ma'am, your age is fine.
You are
so
not
be actually reduced.
Correct. You are not subject to the actuarial reduction. This is a great question. For those of us that were born outside the U.S. and birth certificate is another language, what can we substitute?
That is a great question to send us to Ask TRSL. Oh, wait, Cliff's hand's raised. He knows the answer.
I know the answer. I just wanted to throw it out there. So if you were born outside in another language, we can actually accept the birth certificate, but we also will accept your passport. So your passport also has your birth certificate. Really, we want to know how old are you officially at the time that you get ready to retire.
Excellent.
So someone did ask this question, and this is we actually had a little debate on there. They were questioning if I work 3 or more years after drop, my salary average is based on what again?
So, drop is a very interesting subject. And so, we're going to go ahead and answer this one, but we're not going to go ahead because there's a lot of you on the line right now, friends. We're not going to answer every question about drop because we'll be here another hour and a half.
And because
So, we're going to take this one because it's a general question. We want to make a really good point. So, when one goes into drop, I mentioned earlier, sometimes drop is your friend, sometimes drop is not your friend. So, you go into drop, let's say, I'm just making this up. Let's say this person went into drop at 30 years. And let's say this person works 3 years after drop. By the way, there's no requirement for that. You could work 6 months after drop. You could work 5 years after drop. No requirement for working after drop in any way. So let's say this person went in at 30 years, went into drop, and then worked 3 more years after drop. I believe the question was 3 years. So I'm going to answer your 3 or more. So I'm going to answer your question, but I'm also going to give out some important information that's linked to that. So if you work a year after drop, the calculation for that year is based on your highest years going into drop. If you work 3 or more years after drop, then the calculation is based on your 3 years after drop, your highest within those 3, even if you're making less after drop. Let me also clarify very quickly that if you are working after drop, at no point in time, even if you work 3 or more years after drop, is the time before drop recalculated. So that 25 or 30 years, for example, that you go into drop with, even if you work 3, 5, 10 years after drop and you're making more money after drop, only your after drop year calculation will be reflective of a higher salary. Those 25 or 30 years going into drop will not be reflective of a recalculation for anything higher than what it was or lower than what it was already calculated on going into drop. Just that was an additional answer. I know you didn't ask that, but that's a misunderstanding out there. I just wanted to clarify that while we went down that rabbit hole for a moment.
We have a ton of drop questions. Real quick on this one, I'll answer real quick. I meet the age requirement, and my 5th year started October 2nd. Have I missed my opportunity to apply for drop? No. Your drop window opens, provided you meet the age requirement and have at least 5 years. It opened on that day. You can go in at any time. You just are shortening the amount of participation that you are eligible for. So instead of 36 months of participation, you may have 35 and a half months of participation in your case.
And we're going to send everybody a link to our Drop 411 webinar that we're doing on the Tuesday of Thanksgiving week. And I'll send everyone a link to that recording, specifically Amgapulas, because I know it's on the mind of a lot of you. And we only got into just a few minutes on drop, and there's really a lot to consider. So no worries, friends. I'll go ahead and send that out to everyone.
Yep, perfect. With that, unfortunately, we are out of time for today's workshop. We do appreciate all of you coming out today and spending the time with us to learn more about your retirement and preparing for that. If you do have questions, please contact us Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30. I almost said 8:30. That's about what time I show up. But 8 o'clock, someone will be here to answer your calls until 4:30. And their phone number is outside of Baton Rouge, 1-877-ASK-TRSL. Or my favorite thing is go to the website, asktrsl.org. In there, you'll type in your information, your contact information, and then there's a big box. You will type in whatever questions you have, send that over to us, and our webmasters will be very happy to answer any and all of your questions that you have for that. Also want to remind you, we've recorded this. You will receive a recording of this later. Tomorrow. Also, if you want to share with your friends, they can go to our YouTube channel, watch this one and any other workshop that we've done. We also ask for 2 other things. Like us on our social media. That is Facebook, Twitter. It's not on here, but we now have a LinkedIn page as well. So you can keep up to date with any of the workshops we're doing, any news, legislative updates. There are some new bills that are coming out that we'll have to talk about later. And anything else that we may be doing. Also, occasionally, maybe some jokes on our social media pages as well. Jerry,
Maybe, definitely.
Jerry got super excited about that.
Everybody's enjoying this fall weather because it is amazing, and you know it's not going to last for long. So, friends, enjoy as much as you can because it's going to be hot or rainy or too doggone cold at some point.
That's it.
So, just enjoy this false fall that we're having right now.
That's great. Again, thank you guys so much for coming out, and we hope you have a fantastic day.
Stay in touch and let us know if you have any other questions, friends.
All right. Bye-bye.